Japan is home to a vast array of fascinating yokai legends, making it one of the countries with the richest mythology and urban legends in the world. From the modern tale of Hasaku-sama to the ancient legend of the Yuki-onna, these stories are widely known and deeply captivating. Among the countless yokai, there are powerful beings like Orochi, considered one of the strongest yokai, and Nurarihyon, the leader of the Demon's Night Parade. In today's video, we'll explore 15 legendary Japanese yokai. Let's begin our journey into their dark and mysterious world. I'm Mr. Yao, and welcome to the Legend Yokai channel. Here, I explore famous yokai and urban legends. If you're into these topics, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos. Have you ever wondered who the true leader is among the hundreds of yokai in the Haki-Yagyo? Legend has it that there is indeed a yokai said to be their leader. This yokai is also infamous for its shamelessness. Not only does he crash parties and feast at restaurants uninvited, but he also boldly moves into people's homes and refuses to leave. The legend of Haki-Yagyo is deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. It is a grand parade made up of hundreds of yokai. Among these yokai, many possess incredible strength, including the three great yokai of Japanese mythology: Shutendoji, the Great Tengu, and Tarmamonome. But did you know? According to legend, the one who leads this massive horde of yokai is not any of the three great yokai. Instead, it is a yokai known as Nurarihyon, who serves as the leader of the Haki-Yagyo. If Nurarihyon is the leader of the Haki-Yagyo, does that mean he is immensely powerful? Nurarihyon is indeed strong, but not in the way Shutendoji is, with overwhelming physical strength. Instead, his power lies in his ability to make yokai unconsciously obey his commands. Nurarihyon is a mysterious and powerful yokai commonly found in legends across Japan. As the saying goes, appearances can be deceiving, and Nurarihyon is the perfect example of this. At first glance, he appears to be kind and approachable. He has an elongated, gourd-shaped head, a shriveled and wrinkled face that resembles that of an elderly man, and he dresses in elegant, noble attire, typically a luxurious silk kimono. His demeanor is calm and refined, much like that of a seasoned gentleman. However, his hobbies are completely at odds with his status as the leader of the Haki-Yagyo. Nurarihyon's favorite pastime is sneaking into restaurants or people's homes to feast for free. After enjoying his meal, he takes a leisurely puff from his pipe and vanishes without a trace, without ever paying the bill. The earliest records of Nurarihyon date back to Edo period yokai, picture scrolls, and Haki-Yagyo Emaki. He is not a traditional evil spirit, but rather an enigmatic and unpredictable uninvited guest. According to legend, at dusk, Nurarihyon silently slips into the mansions of the wealthy. Without hesitation, he sits in the place of honor, drinking tea and smoking as if he were the master of the house. When the real homeowner discovers him, Nurarihyon does not flee. Instead, he responds with an air of authority, questioning, "Why are you disturbing me?" This absurd behavior has made him the ultimate symbol of shamelessness. Some stories even claim that certain homeowners, upon seeing him, do not attempt to drive him away. Instead, they offer him food. And once Nurarihyon leaves, they mysteriously have no memory of his visit. This has led to speculation that Nurarihyon possesses a mind-controlling ability, allowing him to erase people's recollections of his presence. Nurarihyon's name itself is quite intriguing. In Japanese, Nurari means slippery or elusive, while Hyon conveys a sense of mystery or unpredictability. Together, the name describes an entity that is elusive, unbound by rules, and impossible to capture, perfectly matching Nurarihyon's nature. In Okayama Prefecture, some legends associate Nurarihyon with the Umibozu, another well-known yokai. In these local tales, Nurarihyon is depicted as a spherical marine creature, about the size of a human head, floating in the Zato inland sea. When fishermen try to catch it, the sphere sinks just out of reach, only to resurface moments later as if mocking them. Umibozu itself is a famous yokai with its own eerie legends. If you're interested in learning more, let me know in the comments. Nurarihyon is an exceptionally charismatic yokai. Unlike others that rely on brute force to attack humans, he instead commands with intelligence, influence, and an air of mystery. In some Edo period accounts, Nurarihyon was even used as a metaphor for powerful figures who manipulate politics from behind the scenes. Because of his ability to make others obey him without question, people likened him to politicians or merchants who skillfully manipulate public perception and control others through persuasion. In the late Showa era, Nurarihyon regained popularity through the yokai illustration books of Shigeru Mizuki and Arifulmi Sato. In the third season of the anime Gegege no Kitaro, he appears as a villain, considering Kitaro his archenemy, and even proclaiming himself as the boss. This portrayal played a significant role in solidifying Nurarihyon's image as the leader of yokai. In recent years, the most well-known adaptation of Nurarihyon's legend is undoubtedly the anime Nurarihyon no Mago. This series not only portrays Nurarihyon as a dignified and enigmatic yokai leader, but also delves deeply into his role and responsibilities as the master of the Haki Yagyo. Nurarihyon no Mago reinterprets Nurarihyon from a modern perspective, adding more depth and complexity to his character. He is not only a leader revered by yokai, but also a legendary figure who embodies both wisdom and power. Through this anime, Nurarihyon evolves from the uninvited guest of folklore into a charismatic and dignified yokai king, further cementing his place in Japanese yokai culture. In modern Japan, Nurarihyon's influence has even extended into workplace culture, giving rise to an amusing nickname, Company Nurarihyon. This term refers to middle-aged office workers who, much like the yokai himself, show up uninvited at company gatherings, indulging in food and drinks without hesitation. They seamlessly blend into the event, acting as if they were rightfully invited guests. This humorous comparison not only highlights the continued presence of Nurarihyon's legend in modern society, but also reflects Japan's workplace dynamics and unspoken social rules. From an ancient folklore yokai to an anime leader of the Haki Yagyo, and even a modern-day office freeloader, Nurarihyon has constantly evolved, adapting to new cultural contexts. He is both a mysterious yokai and a reflection of human nature, reminding us to stay vigilant while also embracing humor in dealing with unexpected guests. So, in the end, do you see Nurarihyon as a wise leader or simply a shameless freeloader? There is a yokai so massive it's said to be as large as a mountain. To survive, people had no choice but to sacrifice a maiden to it every year. Yamata no Orochi is a colossal yokai from Japanese mythology, known for its 8 heads and 8 tails. It is said to be so massive that it can fill 8 valleys and 8 hills. Orochi appearance is often associated with natural disasters and river floods, with some believing it to be the embodiment of mountain torrents. Due to its enormous and terrifying power, humans were powerless against it and resorted to sacrificing young maidens to secure temporary peace. For this reason, Orochi is often regarded as one of the most powerful yokai in Japanese folklore. Yamata no Orochi, the colossal serpent from Japanese mythology, appears in the earliest Japanese texts, the Kojiki and the Nihongi. This legendary creature has 8 heads and 8 tails, with a body so massive it fills 8 valleys and 8 peaks, which is the origin of its name. Its eyes glow like red lanterns. Its body is covered in moss, cypress, and cedar trees, and its belly is perpetually bloodied and festering as if rotting away. The earliest records place Orochi in ancient Koshi, modern-day Hokuriku, a region known for its abundant rivers. After Orochi's appearance, frequent and devastating river flooding plagued the area, leading people to believe that Orochi was a yokai born from destructive mountain torrents. With its immense size and power, Orochi wreaked havoc wherever it went, causing severe flooding and destruction. The villages it devastated were powerless to stop it and could only endure its rampages. To appease Orochi and mitigate the destruction, the villagers struck a grim bargain. Each year, they would offer a young maiden as a sacrifice in exchange for a year of peace. This arrangement persisted for centuries until one day, Orochi abruptly left Koshi and journeyed to Izumo. The reason for its departure is unclear, but some speculate that the dwindling number of young women in the region left Orochi without sacrifices, prompting it to move on. In the land of Izumo, Orochi continued its rampage, and the local people, like the villagers of Koshi, sacrificed a maiden each year to appease the monster and secure peace. One year, the chosen sacrifice fell upon the family of an elderly couple. The husband, Ashinazuchi, and his wife, Tenazuchi, were descendants of the mountain god Uematsu. Originally blessed with 8 daughters, they had lost 7 of them in successive years as sacrifices to Orochi. Now, only their youngest daughter, Kushinada-hime, remained, and the day of her sacrifice was fast approaching as Orochi's arrival drew near. As the couple wept helplessly, they were approached by Susanoo no Mikoto, a god who had been exiled to Izumo. Seeing their despair, Susanoo asked why they were crying. After listening to their plight, Susanoo learned about Orochi's terror and offered to defeat the 8-headed serpent. However, he made one condition. If he succeeded, the couple must give him Kushinada-hime's hand in marriage. Captivated by her beauty, Susanoo was determined to protect her. Recognizing Susanoo as the brother of Amaterasu, the great sun goddess, the elderly couple agreed to his terms. To protect Kushinada-hime, Susanoo transformed her into a comb and placed it in his hair to hide her. He then instructed the elderly couple to brew 8 barrels of strong sake. Following his instructions, the couple dug 8 large pits in the ground and placed a barrel of sake in each. Soon, Orochi emerged from the raging sea, drawn by the scent of the sake. Its 8 heads plunged into the pits and began drinking greedily. Intoxicated by the strong liquor, Orochi collapsed into a drunken stupor. Susanoo seized the opportunity and, wielding the Tatsuka no Tsurugi, severed all 8 of Orochi's heads, putting an end to the serpent's reign of terror. As Susanoo cut into Orochi's tails, his sword's blade struck something hard and chipped. Curious, he inspected the tails and discovered that one of them contained a remarkably hard and sharp sword. This sword was none other than the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, one of the 3 sacred treasures of Japanese mythology. Afterward, Susanoo married Kushinada-hime and settled in the land of Izumo. Susanoo no Mikoto is a legendary figure in Japanese mythology, best known for his heroic feat of slaying Yamata no Orochi. However, his story, from his extraordinary birth to his eventual exile, is equally fascinating. If you're curious about how Susanoo was cast out from the heavens and how he rebuilt his life on Earth, let me know in the comments below. Multi-headed animals are rare in biology, yet they often appear in mythology and heraldry. Orochi is one of the most iconic multi-headed creatures in Japanese folklore. Interestingly, many legendary multi-headed monsters are said to have 9 heads. For instance, the Hydra in Western mythology, China's mythical beast Nine Phoenix, and Japan's revered dragon deity Kazuryu, the 9-headed dragon, all have 9 heads. Some intriguing theories suggest Orochi might share roots with the Chinese mythological creature Xiangliu. Xiangliu was a 9-headed serpent that turned land into marshes, much like Orochi's association with rivers and flooding. Legend has it that the Yellow Emperor Xinyan severed one of Xiangliu's heads, leaving it with 8. Afterward, Xiangliu's fate became unclear, leading some to speculate it crossed the sea to Japan and became Orochi. Orochi's presence is often associated with river flooding. Ancient people may have likened the scaled sandbars, seen in river deltas, to the scales of a serpent, and the meandering shape of rivers to the form of a great snake, which led to Orochi being described as a giant serpent. Periodic flooding of rivers would devastate rice fields, and the act of defeating the serpent symbolized the success of taming the waters. This interpretation may very well represent the origin of the Yamata no Orochi legend. A curse, in many cultures, is believed to be a form of supernatural power. It can be cast through spells, charms, blood, or rituals performed at the most ominous hours. People use specific words, actions, or ceremonies to bring misfortune, illness, or even death upon someone. What's the scariest curse you've ever heard of? Feel free to share it in the comments. In Japan, there is an ancient curse known as Wushi no Toki Mairi, or the cursing ritual of the Hour of the Ox. According to legend, a woman appears in the dead of night, between 1 and 3 a.m., dressed in white, with an iron ring on her head holding lit candles. She bites down on a wooden comb and carries a hammer and a straw doll as she performs a dark ritual. People call her the Wushi no Toki Onna, the woman of the cursed hour. She comes for one reason only: revenge. In Japan, curses are not just legends. They're feared as real, terrifying forces. From ancient 4th grade ONRYO to modern tales like Sadako's cursed videotape, some curses have lingered for centuries, while others claim lives overnight. Each one is fueled by a grudge that can never be resolved. In ancient times, Japan had a class of mystics known as ONRYO. They were responsible for divination, setting calendars, and protecting the nation from evil spirits. But not all ONRYO served with pure intent. Some, used dark sorcery driven by personal desire or hatred, giving rise to some of the most chilling curses that still haunt Japan today. In ancient ONRYO texts from the Heian period, the hour of the ox, between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., was described as the time when yin and yang collide and grudges reach their peak. It was believed to be the moment when curses were most likely to take effect, an ideal window for those practicing dark rituals. During this hour, one of the oldest and most terrifying curses was said to take place: the Ushi no Toki Mairi. According to legend, a woman consumed by hatred would secretly visit a shrine late at night, carrying a straw doll inscribed with her enemy's name. Under the cover of darkness, she would nail the doll to a sacred tree, driven by rage, chanting curses as she hammered long 5-inch nails into its chest. With each strike, she was believed to drive her grudge deeper into her target's body. This ritual had to be performed during the hour of the ox, and repeated for 7 consecutive nights without interruption. It said that the cursed victim would first feel a strange heaviness in their body. Then for several nights, they would dream of being nailed to a tree, waking up each time in a cold sweat, heart pounding. Soon, they would develop an unshakable fever, begin to hallucinate, and act erratically. No doctor could find any cause. And if the ritual was completed, if all 7 nights were fulfilled, then, with the final nail, the curse would be sealed. What followed was always the same. The victim would either drop dead without warning or vanish in a madness, never to be seen again. This is Ushi no Toki Mairi, a forbidden ritual shrouded in resentment and darkness. The one who performs the curse is often a woman consumed by hatred. People call her the woman of the cursed hour. The woman of the cursed hour is a type of ONRYO, a vengeful spirit born of overwhelming hatred. It is said that she was once a woman who trusted her lover, only to be deceived and violated. Abandoned without mercy, she died with a heart full of bitterness, and her resentment transformed her into a vengeful yokai after death. Another version of the tale suggests that she was a woman burning with jealousy. When the man she loved was taken by another, her heart turned to fury, and she cast a curse upon her romantic rival. Thus, during the hour of the ox, the time when yin and yang intertwine and resentment is at its peak, she performed the ancient curse known as Ushi no Toki Mairi, dragging her enemy step by step into the depths of hell. The woman of the cursed hour is typically dressed in a pure white funeral robe, with long black hair hanging loosely over her shoulders. Her face is as pale as paper, her eyes filled with resentment and emptiness, and her entire presence radiates a heavy aura of death, like that of a corpse. Her appearance is striking and unmistakable. On her head sits an iron ring, into which 3 burning candles are fixed. These not only light the path of her curse, but also symbolize the gradual depletion of the victim's soul, their 3 soul and 7 spirits. In one hand, she holds a straw doll bearing the name of her enemy. In the other, a heavy iron hammer. Hidden behind her are several 5-inch long iron nails. Step by step, slowly and resolutely, she walks toward the sacred tree of the shrine, beginning a forbidden ritual. In some urban legends, vengeful women have been known to imitate the woman of the cursed hour in an attempt to cast a curse themselves. Late at night, they quietly don white clothing, paint their faces ghostly white, and smear their lips with a blood-red lipstick. Some even wear iron rings with 3 candles, mimicking the appearance of the vengeful spirit. This eerie form is their way of declaring hatred to both the gods and the underworld. However, legends make one thing very clear. Unless you're a true ONRYO like the woman of the cursed hour herself, recklessly imitating this ritual can lead to terrifying consequences. If the curse fails, the malice will backfire on the one who cast it. The curse caster will be consumed by the very grudge they attempted to unleash, and their death will mirror the exact suffering they wished upon their victim. Because a true curse is never a game. It is the price of making a deal with hell. Many stories about the Ushi no Toki Onna have been passed down in Japan, but the most well-known is the urban legend of a high school student who encountered her at Kyoto's Kifune Shrine and was ultimately cursed. According to the tale, the boy had heard of the ritual and made a bet with his friends to sneak into the shrine at midnight and catch her in the act. At 1 a.m., he quietly hid behind the trees at the back of the shrine and started recording with his phone. Sure enough, he saw a woman in a white robe, her long black hair hanging down, wearing an iron ring on her head with 3 candles burning atop it. She was hammering a straw doll into an ancient tree, exactly as the legend describes the Ushi no Toki Onna. Terrified, he held his breath and was about to sneak away, but accidentally made a noise that alerted the woman. She slowly turned her head, her eyes locking onto him. He bolted in fear, running as fast as he could, but in his panic, he dropped his student ID. He somehow made it home safely, only to find that the video he had recorded on his phone had mysteriously vanished. That night, he dreamed of the straw doll growing hair, while his own body felt like it was being hammered, nails driven one by one into his limbs and chest. When he jolted awake, his entire body was freezing, and strange bruises had appeared beneath his fingernails and on the soles of his feet. Less than a week later, he suddenly fell gravely ill. At the hospital, an X-ray shockingly revealed several 5-inch iron nails embedded inside his body. Despite emergency treatment, he was pronounced dead. 6 months after his death, a friend was going through his belongings when he accidentally stumbled upon a hidden video file on the boy's phone. In the footage, the boy stood expressionless before a mirror, slowly hammering the iron nails into his own chest, one by one. A curse is born from hatred, and hatred will always lead to even deeper darkness. In moments of anger, people may act on impulse and wish to harm others. But once malice is set free, it becomes difficult to take back. Even if a curse brings a brief moment of release, it may invite something far more terrifying in return. Instead of choosing the path of darkness, it is better to learn to forgive and let go. Never forget, the most dangerous one is not the person being cursed, but the one who holds the desire to curse. Deep in the ancient forests, yokai reside within the oldest trees, their lives intertwined with their host trees. Protecting the forest becomes their duty, as their very existence depends on it. If someone tries to harm the ecosystem or cut down trees, these forest yokai will likely take action, causing them to get lost or even face misfortune. In the deep mountains and ancient forests of Japan, the oldest trees are believed to develop souls, which manifest as spirits known as Kodama. These mystical beings wander around their host trees, tending to the forest and maintaining the balance of nature. It is said that the life of a Kodama is closely tied to its tree. If the tree is cut down, the Kodama will perish. And if the Kodama dies, the tree will gradually wither away. Because of this, the Kodama's lifelong mission is to protect its host tree and the entire forest. Kodama rarely reveal themselves to humans, but their presence is often heard, particularly as echoes that take just a little longer to return than they should. Such occurrences are believed to be the playful mischief of Kodama. They sometimes appear before those they favor, taking the form of faint, distant orbs of light or, on rare occasions, small, vaguely human-shaped figures with curious forms. Kodama are revered as tree spirits and guardians of the forest. They bring vitality to the land surrounding their woods. And when villagers discover a tree inhabited by a Kodama, they mark it with a sacred rope called Shimei-no-wa as a sign of respect. Legend has it that when ancient trees are cut down, they bleed, a sign that a Kodama resides within. Felling such a sacred tree is considered a grave sin, one that brings powerful curses and destruction. If someone gets lost in the forest, Kodama will guide them out through various means. However, if the lost soul is wicked, the path Kodama leads them on may instead take them straight to the lair of sinister yokai, where they will be devoured. This bears some resemblance to Kitsunebi, the ghostly foxfire, except Kitsunebi deceives anyone it encounters, while Kodama only mislead those they dislike, especially evildoers. In the southern islands of Okinawa, many unique yokai are said to reside. Among them, a mysterious creature inhabits the forests, a yokai that resembles a child. They are about the same height as human children, with wild, thick, bright red hair and red skin. Wearing skirts woven from grass, they move by hopping rather than walking. This yokai is none other than Okinawa's famous Kijimuna. Kijimuna exist in both male and female forms. Although they grow older, their bodies remain child-sized forever. However, their gender characteristics develop exceptionally well, with male Kijimuna being particularly known for their prominent physical features. Typically, Kijimuna make their homes in the banyan trees of the forest, but more often than not, they prefer gathering near the sea. The lifestyle of the Kijimuna closely mimics that of humans in many ways. They fish along the coast, live in family units, marry, and raise children much like the local islanders. In rare cases, they are even said to marry into human families. Kijimuna's diet consists entirely of seafood. They are excellent fishermen, especially skilled at diving. They use these abilities to catch their favorite dish, fish heads, particularly those of the double-line barracuda. They have a special fondness for fish eyes, favoring the left eye over the right. Okinawans often blame eyeless fish carcasses found on the beach on the picky eating habits of the Kijimuna. Kijimuna have many unusual fears and dislikes. They despise chickens and cooking pots. They have an extreme aversion to people who pass gas. However, the thing they hate the most is octopuses. They go to great lengths to avoid them. If someone plays a prank on a Kijimuna using an octopus, they will face consequences. The Kijimuna will attempt to overwhelm the prankster using their distinguished feature, though they won't take their life. Still, pranking a Kijimuna is something one should never do. Kijimuna are not only childlike in appearance, but also in temperament. They are yokai with strong emotions, clearly distinguishing between those they like and those they dislike. If a Kijimuna takes a liking to someone, they will go out of their way to offer help. They might assist in picking hard-to-reach fruits from trees, or help fishermen predict the weather before heading out to sea, reducing the risk of maritime disasters. However, if someone tries to cut down the banyan tree where a Kijimuna resides or disrupts the balance of the forest, they will hold a deep grudge. In milder cases, they might cause all of that person's livestock to perish. In more severe cases, they may carve small holes in fishing boats, leading to dangerous accidents at sea. The most terrifying punishment, however, is their magical ability to trap a person inside a hollow tree, making escape impossible and dooming them to starve to death. The nature of Kijimuna is the nature of children, so as long as we do not harm them, they will coexist with us in peace. With excessive development, lush green forests are becoming scarcer. Many of these ancient yokai tied to the forests have long taken on the role of protectors. Isn't our relationship with the earth much like the bond between these yokai and the woods? If the earth perishes, can we still survive? Do you remember the last time you had a nightmare? These unwelcome visitors in the dead of night are the brain's way of processing stress and fear while we sleep. But have you ever noticed that children seem to be less troubled by nightmares? Is it because they live carefree lives, or could there be another reason? In ancient Japan, people believed this wasn't just coincidence. They thought a mysterious yokai was silently watching over children, devouring their nightmares to ensure a peaceful sleep. Baku, also known as the Dream Eater, is a mysterious creature from Chinese and Japanese folklore, said to devour nightmares and safeguard peaceful sleep. In ancient Japan, images of Baku were often placed beside children's beds, as it was believed that this yokai would consume their nightmares and leave only pleasant dreams. However, summoning Baku was not without risk. According to legend, if Baku remained unsatisfied after feasting on nightmares, it could begin to devour a person's hopes and aspirations, leaving them in emptiness and despair. The origins of Baku trace back to China. In ancient Chinese mythology, a yokai known as the Zerbu Xiang was a chimeric beast formed from the traits of multiple animals, believed to be the inspiration for Baku. Ancient texts describe Baku as a yokai assembled from the claws of a tiger, the tail of an ox, the eyes of a rhinoceros, and the trunk of an elephant, a description that closely matches the Zerbu Xiang. During the Tharng dynasty, the poet Baiju helped popularize the belief that images of such hybrid creatures could ward off illness and evil. Around the same time, a real-life creature identified as Baku was regarded as a rare and exotic animal, brought to China as tribute from Southeast Asia or southern regions. Ancient texts often described it as resembling the Asian tapir or Malayan tapir. At the time, Baku was believed to be the legendary Zerbu Xiang beast, and its fur was thought to possess strong protective powers against evil spirits. Because of this belief, people hunted these creatures extensively, using their pelts to make blankets and amulets to ward off malevolent forces. However, thanks to Baiju's advocacy, people eventually came to believe that simply drawing or carving the image of Baku could provide the same spiritual protection. This shift in belief spared the creature from excessive hunting and contributed to its preservation. The idea of Baku as a ward against evil spread to Japan during the Edo period, where it underwent a transformation. In China, Baku was primarily seen as a protective spirit against misfortune. But in Japan, it evolved into a yokai that devours nightmares and safeguards sleep. This reinterpretation marked Baku's transition from a general talisman of protection to the widely known Dream Eater, refining its role from repelling evil to directly ensuring peaceful rest. Despite being regarded as a spiritual entity, Baku has a distinct physical description. It is often depicted as a bizarre chimera, as ancient legends claim that after the gods finished creating all living things, they used the remaining parts to piece together Baku. As a result, this yokai possesses traits from multiple animals. Since the early 20th century, placing a Baku talisman beside a child's bed has become a common tradition in Japan. If a child has a nightmare, parents teach them to wake up and chant a special incantation 3 times. Baku-sama, come eat my nightmare. It is said that upon hearing these words, Baku will quietly descend and devour the nightmare, allowing the child to fall back into a peaceful sleep. This practice is not limited to children. Many adults also pray to Baku for restful nights. Some even wear Baku-shaped amulets or place Baku carvings under their pillows to ward off bad dreams. Baku's legend serves as a cautionary tale, but summoning this yokai requires care. If Baku remains hungry after consuming a nightmare, it may continue to devour the summoner's hopes and aspirations, leaving them aimless and lost in a void of emptiness. During the Sengoku period, a battle-worn samurai was tormented by relentless nightmares. Every night, the ghosts of the battlefield cried out for his life, leaving him unable to find peace. One evening, deep within the mountains, he stumbled upon a dying Baku. Moved by pity, the samurai nursed the creature back to health. In gratitude, Baku asked what he desired most. Upon learning of the samurai's torment, Baku offered him a deal. It would devour his nightmares in exchange for half of his memories. In a hushed voice, Baku warned, "Your nightmares will vanish, but what is lost will never return." Without hesitation, the samurai agreed. From that night on, his nightmares ceased, and he finally knew restful sleep. But as time passed, he began to forget the faces of his loved ones. He could no longer remember why he fought or what once gave his life meaning. An unbearable emptiness consumed him, while Baku watched from the shadows. One day, realizing that his memories had nearly faded away, the samurai roared in fury. He drew his blade and struck at Baku, desperate to reclaim what was lost. But Baku only sighed. "Is this not what you wish for?" In the end, the samurai collapsed in despair, and together, he and Baku faded into the night. Today, due to the introduction of the Malayan tapir to Japan, its adorable and somewhat clumsy appearance has gradually replaced the once majestic image of Baku from Chinese legends. The dream-eating Baku we recognize today, with its elephant-like trunk and pig-like body, owes its charming form to this influence. Across different cultures and eras, people have always believed in some mysterious force capable of warding off nightmares. Whether it be the protective talismans of ancient China or the dream guardians of Japan, Baku has long been seen as a defender against nightmares, a role that continues even to this day. Perhaps, in the future, Baku will remain a silent guardian of dreams, protecting those plagued by restless nights. But be warned, its protection may come at cost. If you ever wake up feeling like you've forgotten something important, then perhaps Baku has already visited you. You're walking down the street when suddenly a gust of wind blows straight at you. You instinctively take a step back, only to be shocked to find a cut on your hand, as if slashed by a blade. But the strange part is, you don't feel any pain at all. If you've ever experienced a bizarre moment like this, then chances are you've encountered the mysterious yokai from Japanese folklore known as Kamaitachi. In Japanese folklore, there's a strange phenomenon. You're walking along when a sudden whirlwind sweeps past you, and once the wind dies down, you discover deep, clean cuts on your arms and legs, as if slashed by sharp blades. And yet, curiously, you feel no pain at all. This eerie event is said to be the work of a yokai that has existed since ancient times, the Kamaitachi. Originating from the Chubu region of Japan, particularly around Yamanashi and Nagano, the Kamaitachi is a supernatural creature said to ride on whirlwinds, striking victims with claws shaped like sickles. Though the wounds it leaves are long and precise, victims feel no pain whatsoever. According to legend, Kamaitachi always attack in groups of 3, each with a specific role in their terrifying ambush. The first one strikes the victim's legs, knocking them to the ground in an instant. The second then rushes in, slashing the helpless body with its sickle-like limbs, leaving behind countless deep wounds. And finally, the third Kamaitachi applies a mysterious salve, capable of healing most of the injuries within seconds. Because of this, no blood is spilled, and not a single cut causes pain or death. The Kamaitachi's attack is so swift and precise, it can cleanly slice off a chunk of flesh, without the victim even noticing. From a victim's point of view, it feels as if they merely stumbled and scraped themselves slightly. They stand up, feeling only a dull ache, unaware of just how close they came to something truly otherworldly. The name Kamaitachi comes from the Japanese words kama, sickle, and itachi, weasel, literally the sickle weasel. These creatures are often associated with sudden gusts of wind or mysterious whirlwinds that seem to come out of nowhere. Kamaitachi first appeared in written records in Tono Monogatari, The Legends of Tono, a famous collection of Japanese folktales compiled by folklorist Kuneo Yanagita in 1907. The tales are rooted in the mountainous Chubu region of Japan, especially Yamanashi and Nagano, where strange winds and eerie weather are part of everyday life. Among these stories, Kamaitachi is listed alongside other yokai tied to natural phenomena, beings that blur the line between weather and spirit. Interestingly, the itachi, the weasel itself, has long been considered a trickster in Japanese folklore. They are elusive, mischievous, and often bring misfortune. Hearing the cry of a weasel was once thought to be a bad omen, a sign that despair or disaster was drawing near. Some legends even say these weasels possess supernatural abilities, capable of transforming or hypnotizing humans. When one stands upright on its hind legs, it might be casting a spell, perhaps luring a human to leave behind food or something far more sinister. According to legend, when a weasel grows old, it may transform into a magical yokai. Its claws become long and sharp, like terrifying sickles, and it gains the power to move faster than the wind itself. No one truly knows what they look like because they move so quickly they're nearly invisible to the human eye. There are two main beliefs about how these creatures become Kamaitachi. The more common version says that with age, the weasel's claws grow into sickle-like, and the creature itself becomes a spirit of the wind. This is where the name Kamaitachi originates. Another version claims that elderly weasels are blessed by the wind god, who grants them the ability to race through the air at incredible speeds. When combined with their sickle-like claws, These weasels become mischievous spirits who ride the wind and slash at unsuspecting travelers, not to harm them, but simply for fun. In Niigata Prefecture, there exists a unique version of the Kamaitachi legend, one that paints this yokai not as a mere trickster, but as a messenger of the wind god himself. According to local folklore, the appearance of a Kamaitachi is a dire omen. A violent snowstorm is on its way. This belief is deeply rooted in the region's relationship with nature, especially the harsh winters, and reflects the awe and fear locals hold toward the forces of wind and storm. The wounds left by Kamaitachi are seen not just as random slashes, but as divine warnings, marks from the wind god. Fishermen, in particular, pay close attention to these signs. If they're struck by the creature's invisible attack, they believe it's a signal that the storm is near, and immediate action must be taken to avoid disaster. To protect themselves, local fishermen will often halt their sea journeys altogether. They'll also hang shimenawa, sacred straw ropes used in Shinto practices, at the entrance of their homes. These ropes are believed to ward off evil and invite protection. Through this ritual, the people hope to drive away the storm and earn the favor of the wind god before it's too late. From a more modern and scientific perspective, what we call a Kamaitachi might simply be a small whirlwind. These sudden gusts of wind can create pockets of low pressure, and in rare cases, they may even cause skin to split open, leaving wounds that resemble knife cuts. To ancient people, such unexplained injuries must have seemed like the work of a supernatural being. There's even a theory that the idea of Kamaitachi started as a joke, a pun based on the Kamaitachi, a stance or motion in swordsmanship. But no matter the origin, stories of invisible yokai riding the wind and slashing at unsuspecting victims can be found all across Japan. To this day, Kamaitachi remains one of the country's most enduring and mysterious yokai. Japan's anime industry has become a global cultural force. Every popular series captures the hearts of audiences around the world. And in doing so, many ancient Japanese yokai have returned to the spotlight with renewed fame. In one of the most talked about anime in recent years, Jujutsu Kaisen, there's a character who shocked viewers with his terrifying presence and unforgettable design. He is violent, ruthless, and yet possesses an overwhelming charisma. He is Ryomen Sukuna. But did you know? This name actually existed in ancient Japan. The legendary Ryomen Sukuna was even more bizarre than the version we see today. He had 2 faces and 4 arms. Some called him a demon, others believed he was the incarnation of a god. When people hear the phrase 3 heads and 6 arms, many immediately think of Ashura. Ashura in Sanskrit, a fierce deity from Buddhist tradition and one of the 8 legions who protect the Dharma. In Japan, the image of Ashura is well known, especially the famous statue housed at the Kofukuji National Treasure Museum in Nara, designated as a national treasure. However, Ashura isn't the only multi-faced, multi-armed figure in Asian lore. In ancient Japan, there was another mysterious being, one with 2 faces and 4 arms, a creature believed to be both a yokai and a divine entity. His name was Ryomen Sukuna. Ryomen Sukuna's origins stretch far back into Japan's earliest historical records. He appears in the Nihon Shoki, also known as the Chronicles of Japan, the oldest surviving official history of the nation and the first of the 6 national histories. according to the text, Ryomen Sukuna was a legendary figure from the province of Hida, what is now northern Gifu Prefecture. He was said to stand roughly 3 meters in height and bore 2 faces, one in the front and one in the back, with a matching pair of arms and legs on each side. In other words, he had 4 arms and 4 legs, able to fight in any direction without a blind spot. Ryomen Sukuna was not only immensely strong, but also remarkably agile. He could wield swords with both hands at once, and shoot arrows with all 4 arms. Skilled in all forms of martial combat, he could ride horses, handle bows, and even use tools for flying, truly a master of every battlefield art. And yet, despite his power and prowess, Ryomen Sukuna was not honored by the central government. On the contrary, he was condemned as a rebel and a traitor. Why? Because he refused to submit to imperial command. He did not follow the emperor's will and instead led his followers into the mountains, ruling his own domain independently. Ryomen Sukuna was neither a provincial official nor a bandit. He resembled the monarch of a parallel order, with his own code, his own loyal men, and his own faith. To a centralized imperial system built around obedience to the throne, such an outsider was an undeniable threat. And so, under the orders of Emperor Ajin, the imperial court dispatched a military commander, Takefurikuma no Mikoto, to subjugate Hida. According to legend, before setting out, Takefurikuma held a ceremonial prayer at Sakurayama, Hachimaran Shrine, located in what is now Takayama City in Gifu Prefecture. He sought divine protection for the campaign ahead. He then led his forces deep into the mountains, where they clashed in fierce battle with Ryomen Sukuna. Despite his monstrous form, Sukuna possessed astounding combat skill. With 2 faces and 4 arms, he could fight in all directions simultaneously. His 4 hands could wield both swords and bows at once, making him nearly unbeatable on the battlefield. The fight raged on for dozens of days. In local legends, this conflict is remembered as the 37-day war. But in the end, Sukuna was defeated. His head was taken and presented to the court. Hida no longer defied imperial rule, and the central government further solidified its control over Japan's northern mountain regions. Yet despite being branded a traitor by the court, Ryomen Sukuna was revered by the common people of Hida as a guardian deity. Legends tell of how Sukuna personally drove out demons hiding deep in the mountains and vanquished bandits that threatened the villages. He did not serve the imperial court, nor did he plunder the people. Instead, he established his own system of order. In an age of chaos and uncertainty, such a power was more tangible and effective than the distant central authority. To the frontier communities of Hida, Sukuna became something far greater than a rebel. He was their savior. Even today, in Takayama City of Gifu Prefecture, many legends about Ryomen Sukuna are still passed down through the generations. One of the most important centers of worship is Senkoji Temple, nestled deep in the mountains of the Hida region. Within this temple stands a statue of Ryomen Sukuna, not as a demonic figure, but in the solemn form of a guardian deity. These sacred sites have become important symbols of regional faith and memory, honoring a figure who once protected their land. While researching Ryomen Sukuna, I also came across a great deal of material about Ashura, the multi-armed deity known across Indian mythology, Buddhist scriptures, and Japanese belief systems. However, because Ashura's background spans multiple cultures and texts, it was simply too complex to fully include in this episode. If you're interested in a dedicated video on Ashura, let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't Don't forget to click the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. In Jujutsu Kaisen, Ryomen Sukuna is portrayed as the king of curses, a being of immense and terrifying power. While the anime does not depict him with the traditional 2 faces and 4 arms, the concept of his 20 severed fingers is a clever nod to the 4-armed form described in ancient legends. His 4 eyes, too, are no random design choice. They were intentionally created to symbolize his 2 faces, paying homage to the original myth and bringing the ancient figure to life in a striking modern form. Perhaps in mythology, Sukuna represents the inner conflict of humanity, the eternal struggle between light and shadow, good and evil. His 2 faces, one in front and one behind, reflect both the outer self and the hidden self. His 4 hands, wielding different weapons, can be seen as metaphors for the 4 deep-rooted human vices: greed, anger, ignorance, and hatred. Ryomen Sukuna is both a demon and a divine reflection. He never fully aligns with good or evil, but instead walks the gray zone in between, acting according to his own sense of justice. Did you know that in ancient Japan, whenever a fishing boat encountered a disaster at sea, people often believed it was the work of a yokai? Among them, the one that fishermen feared the most was a yokai known as the Monk of the Sea, the Umibozu. But this so-called Monk of the Sea wasn't just one creature. There was another terrifying yokai, said to be a relative of the Umibozu, known as Zato. He too was feared by those who made their living from the sea. Before heading out to sea, fishermen would carefully observe the shape of the clouds, the direction of the wind, the humidity in the air, and any changes in the atmosphere. On one hand, they relied on experience to judge sea conditions and ensure their safety. On the other hand, it was also closely tied to belief and superstition. If the skies suddenly turned dark with thick clouds, the air pressure dropped, and the wind shifted strangely, they believed it was a sign that the sea gods were angry. When that happened, many would choose to stay ashore, fearing they might invite disaster. To them, without the protection of the sea gods, terrifying yokai might emerge from the ocean and bring disaster. And the one they feared the most was the yokai known as the Monk of the Sea, Umibozu. Umibozu often appears on calm and quiet nights, when everything seems perfectly normal and there are no signs of danger. Then suddenly, the waves begin to churn, the weather shifts, and a violent storm strikes without warning. In the chaos, a massive creature emerges from the sea. It tries to destroy the ship, sometimes crushing it in a single blow, other times tearing it apart bit by bit. The way it attacks depends on the size of the ship and the size of the creature itself. Perhaps no other sea yokai is as mysterious as Umibozu. Its true form remains unknown to this day. Most people only catch a glimpse of what lies above its shoulders. It looks somewhat human in shape, with jet black skin and large, round eyes. Witnesses say its size can vary dramatically, sometimes just slightly larger than a ship, and sometimes so massive that only its bloated face breaks the surface. Its head is smooth and round, like that of a monk, and its body is naked and dark as a shadow. According to legend, Umibozu doesn't have a single fixed appearance. In some stories, its body resembles a giant sea serpent. In others, it's described more like a massive ghost, a black shadow drifting across the surface of the ocean. No matter what form it takes, its arrival always signals disaster. It is said that Umibozu will demand a wooden bucket from the crew. It then uses the bucket to pour seawater onto the deck again and again, quickly sinking the ship and drowning everyone on board. But there is one way to trick it. If you give it a wooden bucket with the bottom hollowed out, Umibozu will keep scooping water endlessly, but never manage to fill the ship. In that moment, the crew may have a chance to escape. Though this story is often associated with the Funai Yurei, some regional legends have blurred the lines between the two, attributing this deadly habit to Umibozu instead. Because of this, many experienced fishermen in the past would carry a bottomless bucket on board, just in case. One theory about why Umibozu is called the Monk of the Sea is that he was once a monk who drowned at sea. Others believe the name comes from his smooth, bald head, which closely resembles that of a monk. There's a well-known legend that explains why Umibozu causes chaos at sea. It is said that he was originally a monk who fell in love with a village girl and had a secret affair with her. When their relationship was discovered, the angry villagers captured him, tied him up, and threw him into the ocean. Filled with hatred, he died and turned into a yokai, haunting the sea and taking revenge on fishermen. This story is often considered the most human explanation for why he is called the Monk of the Sea. Another theory suggests that Umibozu is the demonized image of pirates. In ancient times, when ships mysteriously vanished or were attacked, people projected their fear on his supernatural beings, and the terrifying figure of Umibozu was born. Some scholars have speculated that Umibozu might actually be a massive sea creature living deep in the Zato Inland Sea. Possibly the ancestor of many aquatic yokai, because sightings are extremely rare and almost always end with ships sinking and people disappearing. Its true nature and origin are likely to remain a mystery for a long time to come. Although he's known as the Monk of the Sea, some legends say that Umibozu actually has a wife, another sea yokai called Umibozu. There's also a theory that Nurarihyon might be a variation of Umibozu himself. If you're interested in the story of Nurarihyon, you can check out the video on my channel or find the link in the description below. And if you'd like to hear more about Umibozu, feel free to let me know in the comments. I might introduce her in a future video. Thank you. Zato is a yokai from Japanese folklore, usually appearing at sea in the form of a blind monk carrying a biwa on his back. He is said to be enormous in size and can walk directly on the surface of the ocean. In some legends, Zato is considered part of the Umibozu family of sea yokai, and sightings are especially common in the coastal areas of Sanraku. Very little is known about this mysterious creature. It is generally seen as harmless and does not actively disturb humans. Zato first appeared in the Haki Yagyo Amaki, and post-war writings classified him as a common type of sea yokai. His typical appearance shows him standing calmly on the ocean, holding a staff in his right hand, with a biwa slung over his shoulder, like a silent musician drifting among the waves. However, some legends describe him as a dangerous presence. It is said that he plays beautiful music to lure ships closer, and when fishermen approach, he suddenly capsizes their boats, sometimes even swallowing entire vessels. This version of Zato is often compared to the sirens from Western mythology. But there are also gentler versions of the legend. In some stories, if the crew treats him with politeness and humility, he does not harm them and simply disappears. In certain regions, he is even considered a benevolent yokai who helps lost ships find their way and protects fishermen during storms. Because records of Zato are extremely scarce, our understanding of him remains full of uncertainty. Some believe he is a related yokai with a similar appearance to Umibozu, while others suggest that he was originally a fictional creature created by the Edo period ukiyo-e artist Toriyama Seiken for his illustrated scroll Gazu Hakiyagyo. Although some believe that Umibozu is simply the demonized image of pirates from ancient times, I think if we focus on its most terrifying trait, being large enough to swallow entire ships, the most reasonable explanation from a modern perspective might actually be a tsunami. In the past, without scientific knowledge, it was natural for people to turn mysterious natural disasters into stories about yokai. After all, for the families of those who perished at sea, there was no one they could hold accountable, except a yokai. What do you think? Did you enjoy these yokai legends? If you like this video, don't forget to press the like button and share it with your friends. For more, you can check out my previous yokai collection or my yokai encyclopedia video on this channel. And finally, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'll be bringing you more yokai stories in the future. Yurei, the spirits of the dead, often return to the world of the living, appearing as they looked in life. Yurei usually have no fixed form, and most people can't see them with the naked eye. Only certain individuals, such as the deceased relatives, their enemies, or those born with spiritual sight, are able to catch a glimpse of their presence. There are many types of Yurei, but the most terrifying among them are those who died filled with deep resentment and strong grudges. These are known as ONRYŌ, vengeful spirits. Even in modern times, the image of ONRYŌ continues to haunt popular culture. Characters like Sadako and Kayako are among the most well-known modern ONRYŌ. They brought the terrifying elements of traditional vengeful spirits into film and television, leaving countless viewers sleepless at night. Have you ever seen a Yurei with your own eyes? Feel free to leave a comment and share your experience. And if you have, we'd love to hear your story. Long before that, in ancient Japan, there were 4 vengeful spirits whose legends became the most infamous. They are known as the 4 Great ONRYŌ: Sugawara no Michizane, Taira no Masakado, Prince Sawara, and Emperor Sutoku. Their stories deeply influenced Japanese history and culture, and they remain iconic symbols of revengeful spirits even today. Among all types of spirits, ONRYŌ are undoubtedly the most terrifying. These are the ghosts of individuals who died consumed by intense jealousy, anger, or hatred, unable to find peace. Their souls transform into powerful and wrathful entities, relentlessly seeking vengeance against those who wronged or harmed them. ONRYŌ are often victims of war, disasters, betrayal, murder, or suicide. They typically bear visible wounds or marks that reveal the manner of their death. Their motives are always the same: revenge. These spirits are so powerful that they can easily take a life. However, they often prefer to inflict prolonged torment on their enemies, forcing them to endure the pain of watching their loved ones suffer and die in their place. ONRYŌ unleash a devastating curse upon the people or places they haunt. A curse so potent it spreads like a contagion, leaving a trail of death and destruction far surpassing that of ordinary ghosts. Unlike other spirits, ONRYŌ make no distinction in their victims. Their sole desire is to destroy indiscriminately. Furthermore, their vengeance is insatiable. While most Yurei cease their hauntings once they are exorcised or appeased, an ONRYO's relentless grudge curse lingers, continuing to plague a location long after the spirit itself has been put to rest. In the legends of ONRYO, the most famous are the four great ONRYO of ancient Japan: Sugawara no Michizane, Taira no Masakado, Prince Sawara, and Emperor Sutoku. Among them, Emperor Sutoku is often regarded as the most powerful ONRYO. I previously created a video about the Great Tengu, which included the story of Emperor Sutoku. Another renowned ONRYO is Taira no Masakado, a significant historical figure from Japan's mid-Heian period. He is famous for openly rebelling against the Kyoto imperial court and proclaiming himself the new emperor. Taira no Masakado was a descendant of Emperor Kanmu and was born into a noble family in the provinces. His father, Taira no Yoshimasa, served as the governor-general of Mutsu. From an early age, Masakado exhibited a resolute and defiant nature. He had a tense relationship with his cousin, Taira no Sartomori. Despite their similar temperaments, the two frequently clashed over family interests. Masakado possessed two extraordinary abilities: the art of creating duplicates of himself, the Bunshin no Jutsu, and the impenetrable Golden Bell Shield, Kinchozo. These remarkable skills were bestowed upon him by none other than his mother. According to the ancient text Kojinen, Masakado's mother was not human, but a great serpent that had resided in the Soma district of Shimosa province for many years. In Japanese folklore, great serpents are often associated with dragons, leading to another theory that Masakado's mother was the manifestation of a dragon deity. 3 days after Masakado's birth, his mother reverted to her original serpent form under the cover of night and used her tongue to lick his entire body by coating him with her saliva. She infused Masakado with her mystical power, granting him a body as tough as steel. However, she missed one spot: the space between his eyebrows. This untouched area became Masakado's sole weak point. Masakado was known for his fiery, unrestrained personality. He was fearless, showing no reverence for gods or spirits. Due to disputes over land and power, Masakado frequently clashed with family members and local warlords. One notable conflict arose within his own family, leading to a war against the Minamoto clan. In this conflict, Masakado killed his uncle, triggering even greater strife. Although subsequent family-led coalitions failed to defeat Masakado, they pushed him to establish his own power base in the region. In 939, Masakado officially raised his banner in rebellion. He swiftly captured the provincial capitals of Hitachi, Shimizuke, and Kozuke, seizing government seals and taking provincial governors captive. Following his string of victories, he declared himself the new emperor, aiming to establish a regime independent of the Kyoto court. This bold act of defiance alarmed the imperial government, prompting them to dispatch troops to suppress his rebellion. The final battle took place at Mount Kita, where Masakado faced the combined forces of his cousin Taira no Satomori and Fujiwara no Hidesato. Satomori devised a strategy to counter Masakado's Bunshin no Jutsu. Exploiting the fatal vulnerability on Masakado's brow, the Allied forces launched a relentless assault. Masakado was ultimately struck by a volley of arrows, directly hitting his weak spot, and perished on the battlefield. After his death, Satomori beheaded Masakado and sent his severed head to Kyoto as a public display. This marked the end of the short-lived Masakado rebellion. But Masakado's story lived on, becoming a timeless legend in Japanese folklore. Although Satomori won the war, strange events began to unfold. First, the traitor who betrayed Masakado, Kikyo, suddenly died a mysterious and violent death. Then came alarming news from the soldiers guarding Masakado's body. His corpse had mysteriously vanished without a trace. When Satomori and Zato rushed to inspect Masakado's severed head displayed for public warning, the head suddenly opened its eyes and let out a chilling laugh aimed directly at the two men. Soldiers who had participated in the campaign began falling ill for no apparent reason. Alarmed by these ominous events, Satomori ordered Masakado's head to be swiftly transported to Kyoto to present it to Emperor Sutoku. Following his suggestion, the head was hung prominently near the Royal Proclamation Board in Kyoto's Eastern Market, serving as a grim warning to those who might dare defy the emperor. This marked the first recorded instance in Japanese history of a severed head being displayed publicly as a deterrent. A few days after Masakado's head was displayed, something extraordinary occurred. On a bustling day with crowds of passers-by, the severed head suddenly let out a thunderous roar. It then rose into the air and flew eastward toward the Bundor region, leaving the stunned crowd in shock. According to legend, the head was seeking to reunite with its body, which lay in the eastern lands. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like by pressing the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's completely free. Eventually, Masakado's head fell near Torigoe in Musashi Province. Local officials, in an effort to pacify his restless spirit, built a shrine known as Masakado Kobazuka. Today, this mound remains a well-known site in Otemachi, Chiyoda Ward, Tokyo. The strange phenomena and mysterious events surrounding Masakado's defiance and death earned him the title of one of Japan's 4 great ONRYO, demonstrating the fearsome power of vengeful spirits. Throughout history, numerous attempts to relocate or destroy Masakado's burial mound have reportedly resulted in mysterious incidents or disasters, such as earthquakes and outbreaks of illness. This has imbued the site with an air of mystery and an almost untouchable status. Whether you believe it or not, Masakado's mound has stood as a silent witness to 1,000 years of history and legend. It is not merely a grave, but a symbol of humanity's respect of history, vengeful spirits, and the unknown. So, what do you think? Could the vengeful spirit of Taira no Masakado truly exist? In ancient Japan, there was a legend. Whenever thunder roared across the sky, a mysterious yokai would appear. It would ride lightning down to the earth in an instant, bringing chaos wherever it landed. They say this yokai had a master, the god of thunder. But this thunder god wasn't a typical deity like Raiju. He was one of the 4 great ONRYO, Japan's most feared vengeful spirits in history. The yokai is known as Raiju, the thunder beast, and its master, the one still feared to this day, Sugawara no Michizane. Raiju is one of the most famous and feared supernatural creatures in Japanese folklore. It is a yokai said to be formed from lightning, taking the shape of an animal. With long, sharp claws and a fierce, terrifying face. Raiju is often described as resembling a wolf, a dog, or even a cat. Some believe it is a beast made up of features from different animals. Whenever thunder roars, Raiju rides the lightning and descends to earth, causing destruction wherever it lands. In ancient Japan, buildings were made of wood and closely packed together. so even a single lightning strike could lead to massive damage and deadly fires. That's why Raiju was feared as a violent and dangerous yokai. According to Koshiyawa, a collection of strange tales by Matsura Seizon, there was once a Raiju that fell from the sky with a lightning strike in Akita, Dewa province. But at the time, the region was suffering from a famine, and the creature was captured, cooked, and eaten. Perhaps the greatest enemy of a yokai is a starving human. Another well-known story is about the famous samurai Tachibana Dosetsu from Japan's Sengoku period, who is said to have slain a Raiju in his youth. One stormy night, he was sheltering under a tree when lightning suddenly struck toward him. Dosetsu quickly drew his sword and struck the lightning itself. When the smoke cleared, a dead Raiju lay at his feet. From that day on, he named his sword Raikuri, meaning lightning cutter. The blade is still preserved today in the Tachibana Museum. In Nishiboji Temple, located in Mishima district of Niigata Prefecture, there's a preserved mummy that is said to be a Raiju. The origin of this mummy is unknown. It measures about 35 centimeters long and resembles a cat, baring its teeth in a menacing pose. Yokai researcher Tada Katsumi believes that the mummy was originally a cat, but its true identity remains unverified to this day. In ancient times, people believed that Raiju were messengers sent by the thunder god. It was said that small Raiju would crawl into human belly buttons to hide from their master's rage. This gave rise to a popular Japanese superstition. When you hear thunder, you should cover your belly button. In Shinto and Japanese folk beliefs, the thunder god is a deity who rules over lightning and thunder. However, the master Raiju was not a traditional thunder god. He was one of the four great ONRYO of ancient Japan, Sugawara no Michizane. Sugawara no Michizane was a renowned scholar and politician during the Heian period. He was especially skilled in Chinese poetry and was later worshipped as the god of learning. Shrines dedicated to him, known as Tengu, can be found all over Japan. During exam season, many students visit Tengu shrines to pray for success and purchase a small cloth charm called omamori to bring good luck on their tests. Sugawara no Michizane was a genius during his lifetime. He entered government service at a young age and quickly earned the favor of Emperor Wuda. In just a few years, he was promoted to a high-ranking position, Wudaijin, or Minister of the Right. At the time, most high-ranking officials in the imperial court came from the Fujiwara clan, one of the dominant aristocratic families. Michizane, on the other hand, came from a scholarly family with an uncommon surname. His rapid rise to power stirred resentment among the Fujiwara officials. They saw him as a threat and began plotting against him in secret. Their chance finally came when Emperor Wuda unexpectedly abdicated the throne and passed it on to Emperor Daigo. At first, Emperor Daigo also trusted Sugawara no Michizane. However, Fujiwara no Tokihira began his schemes. He secretly allied with officials who were at odds with Michizane and began spreading rumors to Emperor Daigo, falsely accusing Michizane of plotting rebellion. They claimed Michizane had conspired with Emperor Wuda to elevate Daigo's younger brother, Prince Saisei, to the throne. The young Emperor Daigo was terrified and, in his panic, handed full authority over to Tokihira for dealing with Michizane. Unaware of his alleged crime, Michizane was arrested overnight by the Imperial Guard, stripped of his rank, and exiled to Darzaifu in Kyushu. His entire family was forbidden to accompany him, and they were forcibly expelled from the capital, left to wander, their fate unknown. While exiled in Darzaifu, Michizane never understood what grave crime he had committed to deserve such a fate. Separated from his family, who were scattered across the land, he died in despair at the age of 59 in Darzaifu. After Michizane's death, his restless spirit traveled to ONRYŌ Temple in Mount Hiei. An old monk on the mountain encountered him, and Michizane revealed that he would return to Heian-kyo to seek revenge. He told the monk not to stand in his way. Upon seeing Michizane's spirit, the monk instantly knew he had transformed into an ONRYŌ. From that day on, strange omens began to appear in Heian-kyo. The Fuso Ryaki record a series of disastrous phenomena. Earthquakes, lightning strikes, droughts, and plagues, all happening one after another. People believe these unusual events, especially the frequent lightning storms, were signs of Michizane's spirit returning to Heian-kyo to take revenge. It was said that Michizane, wronged and dying in anger, had become the thunder god, striking with lightning to right the injustices of the world. And the Raiju, the thunder beast, was his messenger, sent to punish the wicked. One day, during a court assembly, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck from the sky, hitting the roof of the Seiyoden in the imperial palace with a deafening roar. Emperor Daigo and all the courtiers were thrown into panic. Many of them cried out in horror, "Michizane has returned. Michizane is here for revenge." From that point on, the officials who had taken part in framing Sugawara no Michizane began to suffer one by one. Some were struck dead by lightning while traveling. Others died suddenly for no reason, their deaths gruesome and terrifying. These strange events sparked widespread fear in the court. Even a mastermind, Fujiwara no Tokihira, was overwhelmed with dread. Thunderstorms continued to rage through Heian-kyo, and the fear eventually broke Tokihira's spirit. He fell ill and died a year later. Just when everyone thought that Sugawara no Michizane's vengeance had ended with the death of Fujiwara no Tokihira, yet another strange event occurred. 10 years later, Michizane's wrath resurfaced again. Prince Yasukura, son of Emperor Daigo and Tokihira's sister, also Tokihira's chosen successor to the throne, died suddenly at the young age of 21. At the time, the sky was once again filled with thunder day after day, which the people believed to be undeniable proof of Michizane's vengeful spirit returning once more. The court finally realized how serious the situation had become. A grand purification ritual called ONRYŌ was held in front of the Kenrei Gate inside the imperial palace to appease his spirit. At the same time, 2 imperial decrees were issued, one to restore Michizane's title of Minister of the Right, and another to officially nullify his exile. However, his anger had not been soothed. 2 years later, Prince Yasukura's only son, Prince Korizane, died prematurely at the age of 5. With that, Yasukura's bloodline came to a complete end. Emperor Daigo, devastated by all these losses, fell ill. His health deteriorated day by day, until he finally passed away on his imperial bed. After his death, Emperor Sutoku ascended the throne. This emperor, interestingly, had a deep connection to another famous great ONRYŌ, Taira no Masakado. Emperor Suzaku ordered the construction of a Tenmargu shrine to enshrine Sugawara no Michizane, and posthumously honored him as the god of learning and the god of thunder. Because of this, Michizane's spirit was finally at peace. The once terrifying ONRYŌ who had plunged mid-Heian Kyoto into fear for nearly a century, was no longer seen as a monster, but revered as a deity. Today, countless students visit Tengu shrines every year, praying for academic success and passing exams. And the spirit they worship is the very same thunder god who once returned to seek vengeance. Sometimes, the line between a god and a yokai is thinner than we think. In Japanese folklore, yurei are basically the Japanese version of ghosts, very similar to spirits in Western traditions. The word yurei comes from two kanji, yu, meaning faint or dim, and rei, meaning spirit or soul. They're also known by other names like Borei or Shiryo. Sometimes, they're even grouped under broader terms like yokai or obarke, which refer to all kinds of supernatural beings. Like ghosts in the West, yurei are believed to be souls who couldn't pass on peacefully after death. All Japanese ghosts are called yurei, and there are several types within this classification. Among them, the most feared are the ONRYŌ, spirits of those who died with deep resentment or anger. These vengeful spirits were believed to cause disasters, illness, and political turmoil, even after death. However, within the ONRYO legends, there is an even more unique type, the Goryo. Goryo are not just angry spirits. They were once noble figures or high-ranking officials who died tragically, often as victims of false accusations, exile, or political betrayal. Due to their social status and the perceived injustice of their deaths, people believe that the wrath of these spirits could bring large-scale calamities, such as plagues, famines, or even earthquakes. Since ghosts could not be destroyed, the only way to end their vengeful anger was to transform them into peaceful and benevolent spirits. To prevent such disasters, communities would build shrines and hold special rituals, often with the help of priests and onmyoji, to appease the Goryo and turn them from dangerous spirits into protective deities. This practice became known as Goryo Shinko, the belief in and worship of Goryo. An early figure often seen as the origin of Goryo Shinko is Fujiwara no Hirotsugu. He's said to be the first officially recorded case in Japanese history involving this belief. Fujiwara no Hirotsugu was a nobleman during the Nara period. Branded a traitor amid political turmoil, he was exiled and eventually executed in Dazaifu. But soon after his death, a series of disasters and strange occurrences struck the capital. People began to suspect that Hirotsugu had returned as an ONRYO, seeking revenge against the state. In response, the imperial court performed the first official Goryo pacification ritual, hoping to appease his angry spirit and transform him into a guardian deity. This marked the formal beginning of Goryo Shinko, which would go on to become a lasting and unique spiritual tradition in Japan. Although Fujiwara no Hirotsugu isn't one of the four great ONRYO, his life story is filled with drama and mystery. After the case of Fujiwara no Hirotsugu, one of the most memorable and representative Goryo legends was that of Prince Sawara. So, who exactly was Prince Sawara? He was one of Japan's famous four great ONRYO. Toward the end of the Nara period, power struggles within the imperial family grew increasingly intense. Prince Sawara was the second son of Emperor Konin and the younger brother of Emperor Kanmu. He had been appointed crown prince and was once destined to become the next emperor. But fate was not kind to this noble-born prince. Shortly after Emperor Kanmu ascended the throne, the court was shaken by a major political incident. The assassination of Fujiwara no Taneitsugu, a top official serving in Dazaifu. During the investigation, suspicion unexpectedly fell on Prince Sawara. Some believed he had conspired with nobles opposed to Emperor Kanmu in a plot to seize the throne. Though there was no solid evidence, Prince Sawara was stripped of his title overnight, demoted to commoner status, and exiled to Dazaifu in Kyushu. On the long journey into exile, he was forced to walk barefoot, enduring humiliation, hunger, and overwhelming injustice. Eventually, Prince Sawara chose to protest through a hunger strike and died in bitter grief before reaching his destination. However, things didn't end there. After Prince Sawara's death, a series of strange disasters and ominous events struck the capital one after another. The construction of Emperor Kanmu's new capital, Nagorokyo, was plagued by constant setbacks, accidents, floods, and repeated misfortunes. The empress died young, the crown prince passed away, and a dark shadow loomed over the imperial family. Even Emperor Kanmu himself was haunted by nightmares of evil spirits, his mind tormented and restless. Whispers began to spread throughout the court and among the people. Could these disasters be the work of Prince Sawara's vengeful spirit? Eventually, even Emperor Kanmu began to waver. He started to wonder, had he wrongly condemned his own brother and brought divine punishment upon himself? In an effort to calm the restless spirit and end the calamities, the court officially restored Prince Sawara's royal title and reburied his remains with full honors befitting a member of the imperial family. A Goryo shrine was established in Kyoto specifically to enshrine Prince Sawara, and purification rituals were held to appease his soul. This is believed to be the origin of the Kami Goryo Shrine and Shimo Goryo Shrine. But perhaps the most dramatic event of all was the relocation of the capital itself. Because of the never-ending misfortunes in Nagorokyo, Emperor Kanmu ultimately abandoned the entire city and moved the imperial capital to what is now Kyoto, Heian-kyo. This was not just a political decision. It was also a spiritual attempt to escape the curse of a vengeful spirit. The name Heian, meaning peace and tranquility, reflected the emperor's deep longing for safety and harmony. From that point on, Prince Sawara became one of the most iconic figures in Goryo Shinko. His tragic story came to symbolize the souls of noblemen crushed by injustice. Souls that, even in death, could strike back at the centers of power. Through him, ONRYO were no longer just characters from folklore. They became a political reality the imperial court could no longer ignore. The four great ONRYO, Sugawara no Michizane, Taira no Masakado, Emperor Sutoku, and Prince Sawara, are among the most famous tragic figures in Japanese history. Each met their end through political strife, false accusations, or betrayal, and each was believed to return as a vengeful spirit with the power to curse the nation. Over time, their stories moved beyond myth and legend to become part of Japan's cultural fabric, deeply influencing Goryo Shinko, shaping historical narratives, and even altering the course of society itself. What we witness is not just tragedy, but a powerful symbol of how history, culture, belief, and fate are deeply intertwined. The Tengu is one of the most renowned yokai in Japan, with a wide variety of types. including the small Tengu, crow Tengu, leaf Tengu, and female Tengu, among others. The most powerful of the Tengu is known as the Great Tengu, whose strength makes him one of the 3 great yokai in Japan. It is said that one of the Great Tengu was transformed from Emperor Sutoku. Tengu are creatures from Japanese folklore, often believed to be yokai, supernatural beings or spirits. Typically, Tengu are depicted with red faces and long noses. Some Tengu have bird-like wings on their backs, but regardless of whether they have wings, they are generally able to fly. Tengu usually wear attire similar to Yamabushi, Japanese ascetic monks, and they often carry items such as a shakujo, a sword, or a feather fan. Sometimes, they are depicted with a military strategy book called the Tiger Scroll. Additionally, they possess a cloak that grants invisibility, allowing them to vanish at will. Tengu are characterized by an overbearing and arrogant demeanor. They usually reside deep within forests, places that ordinary people dare not approach. The earliest record of Tengu in Japan is found in the Nihon Shoki. It describes a monk hearing strange noises in the sky, followed by something swiftly flying overhead like a shooting star. The term Tengu was first used in the text to describe what the monk saw, and people at the time imagined it to have the appearance of a hawk. During the Heian period, the Kanjaka Monogatari further documented that Tengu could transform into the images of Buddha, monks, and saints, or possess human beings. The Classic of Mountains and Seas, a pre-Qin ancient Chinese book, carries tales about mythical creatures such as Tengu, also known as TENGU in China. However, the depiction of Tengu in this book significantly differs from its Japanese counterpart. Unlike the humanoid Tengu of Japan, the Chinese Tengu is portrayed as a creature resembling a dog. The most famous narrative about Tengu in the Classic of Mountains and Seas is its act of devouring the sun. This story has given rise to the popular Chinese phrase "Tian-go eating the sun," which is used to describe a solar eclipse. In Japan, Tengu were also known as Tenko due to their appearance. Up until the Heian period, the image of Japanese Tengu resembled that described in the Classic of Mountains and Seas. In the late medieval period, the Tengu's image shifted from that of a hawk to the long-nosed Tengu. The long nose symbolized an arrogant and haughty attitude, as Tengu were considered embodiments of arrogance. Their long noses were seen as a symbol of this arrogance. At that time, saying, "I want to become a Tengu," implied that one had become proud. From the medieval period onward, Tengu were called great demons and the like because they had fallen into the Tengu path. As a result, they were considered immortal and capable of displaying various skills like immortals. They attempted to obstruct Buddhism, and some were even regarded as powerful yokai capable of shaking the nation. Within the hierarchy of Tengu, there are different ranks, with the highest being the Dai Tengu, or known as the Great Tengu. Other Tengu, such as Kotengu, Karasu Tengu, Konoha Tengu, and Onna Tengu, are considered to be the subordinates or workers of the Dai Tengu. In Japanese folklore, the 3 great yokai are the white-faced, golden-haired, nine-tailed fox, Shutendoji, and the Great Tengu. Among these, the Great Tengu is believed by many to be the manifestation of Emperor Sutoku, making it particularly famous in Tengu legends. Emperor Sutoku was originally the 75th emperor of Japan. He ascended the throne at the age of 5 and was forced to abdicate at 23 by his nominal father, Emperor Toba. The throne then passed to Emperor Kono, the son of Emperor Toba and Tamamono. After Emperor Kono's death, the throne was taken by Emperor Go-Shirakawa, shattering Sutoku's dream of regaining power once again. Displeased with Emperor Toba, Emperor Sutoku allied with Minister Fujiwara no Yorinaga and others to initiate the Hagen Rebellion. After their defeat, Sutoku was exiled to Sanuki. In exile, he repeatedly expressed remorse to the court, but his fervent appeals failed to move Emperor Go Shirakawa and his supporters. Sutoku spent a considerable amount of time transcribing 5 volumes of the Mahayana Sutras. Some say he wrote them in his own blood and sent them to Kyoto, only to be met with rejection. Deeply humiliated, Emperor Sutoku was filled with resentment. He bit his finger and wrote on the returned sutras, "I vow to become the great demon king of Japan, to disrupt the nation, to make commoners into emperors and emperors into commoners." After that, he refused food and water, succumbing to his anger and dying in anguish. Upon his death, Emperor Sutoku transformed into the fearsome Great Tengu, bringing calamities to Kyoto. The Great Fire of Ongan nearly burned down a third of the city. Influential figures like Rokujin and Kujo-in, close to Emperor Go Shirakawa, died one after another, and the Onryō warrior monks stormed the imperial palace with demands. These events were all attributed to the vengeful spirit of Emperor Sutoku. More significantly, a few years later, the Taira and Minamoto clans engaged in a fierce power struggle. For the next several centuries, the samurai class, through the shogunate, became the de facto rulers, while the imperial family was reduced to political puppets. It seemed that Emperor Sutoku's curse to make commoners into emperors and emperors into commoners had truly come to pass. The Great Tengu, believed to be the transformed spirit of Emperor Sutoku, is hailed as one of the 3 great yokai in Japanese folklore. Emperor Sutoku himself, along with Sugawara no Michizane, Taira no Masakado, and Prince Sawara, is known as one of the 4 great vengeful spirits of ancient Japan. The appearance of the Great Tengu is usually accompanied by catastrophic disasters, symbolizing the downfall of the nation. After a series of calamities, people feared the Great Tengu, believed to be the transformed spirit of Emperor Sutoku. To appease his wrath, the court posthumously conferred a title upon him. However, historical records suggest that Emperor Sutoku continued to lead other Tengu to wreak havoc on the human world. It wasn't until 1868, during Emperor Meiji's enthronement ceremony, that an envoy was sent to Sanuki to bring Emperor Sutoku's spirit back to Kyoto and enshrine it at the site of the former Shiramane shrine. This finally pacified his vengeful spirit. Today, Emperor Sutoku is revered as a protective deity of Shikoku. The story of the Great Tengu is a significant element of Japanese culture, representing more than just a mythical creature. It serves as a profound reflection on power, arrogance, and revenge. Numerous works featuring Tengu continue to emerge, and this legendary figure, existing between god and demon, will be passed down through generations. Let's hope the Tengu himself doesn't appear, for his presence inevitably brings disaster. If you enjoy my channel, please help by hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss my upcoming videos. Thank you for watching until the end, and I'll see you next time.